Good afternoon, everyone. I am Jen Bonet, Executive Director of the Creative Coast, and today is October 14th, about 7 months into the pandemic, and we are still doing lunchtime topics at least once a week. So this, we'll continue with the Creative Coast, thecreativecoast.org. We're focused on catalyzing the entrepreneurship, tech, and creative ecosystem in Savannah, Georgia. And so we're just talking about topics that are interesting to entrepreneurs, techies, or creatives. And today we're going to talk business, right? So we have with us longtime friend and mentor with the Creative Coast, Curtis Faircloth, and he's going to talk about how to find new business, how to find new customers when you can't meet them face to face. So he's been a longtime friend and partner on this journey with the Creative Coast. And he's in business development now with one of the exciting new companies in Savannah, Georgia. And I'm going to let him tell you all about it. But Curtis, take it away.
Thank you guys. And this is not going to be the talking head. I really want this to be a discussion because all of us are selling. And whether you sell or not, your business depends on generating revenue. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, is how to generate revenue and how to generate revenue with people that look like this, because this is your customer right now. And I had a very quick lesson in this recently. My new company is TACKL. We're a health testing company. Obviously, health testing right now means COVID testing. And so we've been pulled into that world, and we're thankful. There's a lot of demand. But I'm finding that I'm having to approach customers very differently. My first lesson in that was we recently acquired a contract with 13 nursing homes in Austin, Texas. So I'm all excited. I fly down there. I go see my first customer with one of these, thinking, well, we'll be able to have a nice conversation. Guess what? I couldn't get in the door. Not only could I not get in the door of that nursing home, remember I have 13. When I got there, the COVID restrictions were so bad that they weren't even letting their own people in the door unless they were a certified nurse and worked there. So I had to totally retool the way I was going to plan that meeting. Fortunately, we were able to do that. And guess what? The phone still works. So I want to jump in right now to what I think is important to everybody, and that's generating the revenue. And let's step through it. And guys, when I finish, I'm wanting everybody to jump in and give me some examples of things that you're doing now, some challenges that you're having now, and let's just have an open discussion about it and see what we can learn from each other. Everybody good? I'll go ahead and share the screen now. Great. All right. Good, and everybody's there. All right, guys, here's the thing. The basics still apply. And I can't emphasize this enough. I've seen a lot of people try to make this quick pivot. They want to suddenly do everything electronic, and they think that Facebook is going to save them and it's free, and they abandon their traditional media. So let's step through the basics for a second. You've still got a prospect. You still have to make contact with them, although you may be making contact differently. You still have to make discovery calls, very important. You still have to match your offer with the customer's needs. You still have to make a presentation. And more importantly, ask for the business. And a lot of people forget that's the important part. So if all the basics still apply, what's changed? Control is shifting to the salesperson. Shifting from the salesperson to the buyer. And for people that have been in sales for a long time, that's a big shift. Sales has always traditionally been about controlling the presentation, controlling the buyer message, soliciting certain controlled responses from the buyer, and everything leading to the close of the sale. Today, buyers can bypass you completely. And so we've got to evolve. We've got to have new tools. We've got to adopt to a new sales philosophy. So what is that? We've got to stop overselling. Nobody wants to talk to a salesperson. Anybody had that feeling where somebody's just talking at you? I kind of feel that way right now because I can't see any of you. But no one wants to be oversold. So if you've been a salesperson in the past, or if you have the stereotypical image of the aggressive salesperson with the aggressive persuasion tactics, drop it. Today, it's about the buyers are empowered. You want to become part of that process to empower the buyer, become a trusted resource, and simply assist them in the buying process. Everybody with me? So let's go back to the basics. Prospecting. You got to find the customers where they are. And they're online, and they're in professional media, they're in social media. I'm a big believer in Google. Cyber stalking is a good thing, guys. Don't forget the bad connotation of stalking. You need to know everything you can about your customer before you engage them. Do your research, know about their company, know who they're connected to, know a little bit about your competitors that might be already calling on them. Maybe a competitor is already doing business with them. And your mission is to go in and show how you're different and why you deserve some of that business. Most importantly is referrals. So if any of you've been in sales for a while, or if you've never been in sales, let's think through this process. Referrals. It's a warm introduction. You're using the influence of the person who makes the referral and who already has the relationship. And by virtue of that warm relationship and the warm introduction, you already have rapport with the customer when you start the process. So don't forget about referrals in your prospecting. Contact. Yeah, the phone still works. We have to use it a lot. And I know salespeople that make hundreds of calls a day. If you're not that guy, that's okay. Email and text works. Social media works. Referral introduction, as we mentioned earlier. Virtual networking. We'll talk more about that in a few minutes. Discovery. This is something that a lot of people forget. Often when people are making their first appointment, they want to show. This is the time to learn. This is the time to ask questions. This is the time to listen to what the customer wants and learn everything you need to know to help them make a buying decision. Discovery continued is just basically don't move forward until you've earned the customer's trust. That's essential. And that may mean you get in a meeting and you realize, hey, I need some help before we move forward. Or, hey, I've discovered something in this meeting that I need to go back and retool my presentation so that this customer will trust that we have the right product, the right solution for them. So you want to learn about their business, what they need, and their motivation to buy. And that last part is very important. We'll talk more about that in a few minutes. So matching, that's kind of a non-traditional word in sales, but if you think about it, what you're doing is using the information from your discovery to simply match what you have with the needs, the budget, the time frame of the customer. So we'll talk about that in a few minutes, but that's very important. If you have a feeling that your service doesn't match what the customer needs, maybe it's time to back out and refer them to the right person or maybe what you've determined is the best thing for them is not right and you need to retool your own presentation. But if you find that everything lines up, what you have to offer matches the customer's needs and the expectations, then you've got your presentation ready to go. Tailor everything to their benefits, build value, focus on their attention. Focus on the customer's attention on the ways everything will be better. I can't see any of you right now, but one of the techniques that I found really valuable years ago in radio still applies today. It's called the theater of the mind. Every time you show a presentation, you want the customer to begin thinking about and visualizing how much better their life will be after they do business with you, after they buy your product, after they use your service, after they build on your ideas. This is the big one, guys. Ask for the business. Most people forget. I wish I could see your faces, but I bet a couple of you right now, I've kind of thought, I've shown them everything and I don't understand why they haven't moved forward yet. So it's real important to ask for the business. You deserve it at this point. If you've done your homework, you've been honest about how everything's matching with your customer, you've shown them the benefits, you've gotten the smiles and the nods, ask for the business, ask to move forward. All right, I'm going to back out for a minute now and let's see, bear with me, guys. There we go. All right, how many are still with me? That's great. Okay, guys, who's involved in marketing a service now? Let's tell us a little bit about that. Andrea? Yes, let's go off.
I had to unmute myself.
That's okay.
So I work for World Trade Center, Savannah, and it's not a typical service. We help companies in this region do business internationally. We operate essentially as their international arm. So we're licensed by CETA, but we partner with about 60 different companies across the region and just handle all of their international business needs. Great.
So in the past, you would have gone to presentations in person at some of the trade expos. You would have had people in the trade center. What's changed about how you're reaching your customers now?
So part of it, I'm responsible for our educational initiative. So we used to host programs here, and now, of course, they're all hosted online. And the other part of my specific responsibility is community relations. So helping companies that don't have any idea that we're here, just know that we're here if it makes sense for them. And those companies I used to meet, for coffee or at a chamber event or at anything outside of this building. And with this building being locked down and there being so many different restrictions, that face-to-face piece is not necessarily an option. So it's reaching customers by cyber stalking them, like you said, and then sending them emails and saying, hey, I know you don't know who I am, but maybe we should talk.
So it occurs to me that people who want to reach you are in the same position you are, reaching out to so have you had people approach you now that you are in a COVID lockdown? Have you had people approach you in a unique way that?
Yes, not as many as, we would like, of course, but like, for example, yesterday I got a call from someone that attended one of our virtual programs that would not have found us otherwise. And they're like, hey, I want to learn more about what you do and how I can work with your company. So that was unique and that is ideal. But I mean, obviously that doesn't, a lot of companies are doing their thing and they just don't always, they're kind of in their silo. So they don't always see all the different resources that they might need.
Sure. Tarina, you had your hand up earlier. Let's hear a little bit about your situation.
Yeah, interestingly, I own a staffing company. We place executives with remote virtual assistants. And so this has been so interesting. Most of my colleagues are like, you must be crushing it. I'm like, actually, I'm not. Yeah. I used to get my business almost exclusively from referral and from live events that I would be speaking at or attending. And the virtual summits just aren't converting the same way that they used to. So yeah, that's why I'm here.
Okay, good.
Oh, wait, Travinia, I have a question. Are you having more challenges finding clients or finding the staffing?
Oh, staffing
you're a marketplace, right? So you got both sides of the equation.
Yeah, so executive assistants, not a problem finding them, right? We are finding incredible talent, and this is why it's frustrating, is we have the most amazing talent right now, and just getting the clients to come in has been significantly more difficult in the past 6 months.
Interesting.
Wow. Okay. Is everybody finding that? Did we lose Randy there?
I'm still here.
Oh, good. Hey, Randy, I know that you're probably in a more traditional sales role in some ways.
Correct. We're still out there making sales calls. Again, it's different, like you had shown with the mask, you can't see facial expressions, and you can just see their eyes. So it's been a little more challenging, in the sales process. We're using LinkedIn a lot, of course, to reach out to, prospects, and then also, working, competitives lists and, leads that we get in from Xerox and other services.
So still back to the basics.
Yes.
Yes. Just using different tools. Hey, one thing that we're going to talk about in a moment is something that I think is really important. A lot of people who are not in traditional sales process may or may not be using, but that's the CRM software. Is there a CRM software that you use that you like?
We currently use Salesforce as our primary. It also works in our back-end enterprise software, so it talks and communicates so we can see what they're paying per page and stuff like that. So Salesforce is our CRM that we're using. Great.
Okay, that's one of the ones on the list in a moment. If you don't mind, I may have you elaborate a little bit more on that in just a minute. Destiny's off to the side. I can't see you, Destiny, but are you there? Not sure. Kimberly Jones, are you there?
Hey, everybody, I'm here.
Oh, great. Tell us a little bit about your business.
Well, I'm actually up in Atlanta, but thinking about relocating to Savannah because I went to high school and college there and have been in Atlanta for a while. But my company is a branding and digital agency, so I traditionally get my work through a lot of referrals and online, and have had a lot of success. I just got a client in LA from a Facebook marketing group. So I would tell everybody to look on Facebook marketing or Facebook groups, because a lot of people, put that they need, this lady needed a branding strategy expert, and it's turned into a huge project, and I hope it continues to grow. So I've had good success there.
That's great. Has anyone else had luck with Facebook?
Originally, several years ago when I was growing my business, Facebook was really a go-to place for me to just join a lot of groups and add a lot of value first, and then the cycle was longer, but I would definitely get business from that. Personally, I feel like the online space everyone's a little bit burnt out on Zoom calls and, summits and all of these things.
Yeah.
And so I was telling my husband this morning, I just want to throw an event and see if people will come, because I feel like people just want somewhere to go. But yeah, Facebook used to be a huge driver for our company.
Yeah. And then you're in how many states?
We work all over the United States and Canada.
Right. So you and I will talk later, because we're branching out that way as well.
Awesome.
But there's a particular challenge in those areas where you don't have a geographic presence. Obviously, there are particular challenges there that will happen with or without COVID. So using all the tools is an important part of that. Is anyone doing Facebook Live? Quiet, crickets. I'm not a huge fan of it. And then this week, suddenly, I've had two people talk to me about Facebook Live and the results they're getting with it. One of them is a car salesman. That doesn't surprise anybody, right? They've probably been doing that forever. But the other is in the hospitality space. And they were even joking that suddenly Facebook must be on everybody's computer. They're either bored or they're finding some value in it for business, because he's getting people in the middle of the day that are reconnecting with him from all over that he hasn't had contact with in months. And he said, Curtis, I could have called all of them. It would have taken forever. I could have, given them individual emails, which they may ignore, but he was surprised at how many people responded to Facebook Live. I do have one person that may reach in with us in a few minutes who is somewhat of a specialist in that. He sells cars, and I've got a lot of experience in that market. So we're going to have him, hopefully he'll be on here soon. We'll have him give a demonstration of one of the Facebook Live campaigns that he has. You guys mentioned LinkedIn. Who else is using LinkedIn? Is everybody using it?
I use LinkedIn.
Okay, good. So that's, I used it recently and was surprised. I had always had LinkedIn, but are you finding more use in LinkedIn now, Kimberly?
Yes, actually I do. I mean, I've been trying to post more content on there and cross promote and cross post, I'm sorry, on different platforms. So, you know, I have a blog and I'll post an article on there and a teaser, and then have had good luck, you know, connecting with people, especially down in Savannah since I'm up here in Atlanta, but
Right.
in different parts of the country too. Now this new client in LA, you know, connected with everybody that we've interviewed. So I think it's very helpful, and I think it's underutilized for sure.
Mm-hmm. And are they finding you, or are you working through the, you know, the referrals and links there?
Most people find, well, I should say I actually reach out to a lot of people on LinkedIn, but I've found that people have reached out to me as well. So I would say it's probably maybe 60-40 split on that. You know, more outreach, but a lot of inbound stuff too. You know, some of it is super spammy with people just connecting and trying to sell you something right away.
Right. Right.
But if they have something valuable to say, I've specifically connected with a lot of SCAD graduates and have had great conversations with them. And then as far as new business goes, I haven't really gotten any new business off of LinkedIn just yet, but just have made more connections. I've had more luck on Facebook.
That was going to be my next question, is converting that business. Who has converted business on LinkedIn? And Lou, you're quiet over there. I know you're always up to something innovative. What are you working on now?
Not really. You know, just as you said, we're all selling something. Even, you know, I'm not actively selling. I'm selling something, but I'm not really doing the work and marketing. Of course, I used to teach and tutor, and but then, you know, since the pandemic, was sort of accidentally, I was contacted by a friend, you know, want me to tutor themselves or their kids, and all of a sudden, I had enough business, so to speak, to live on. On the other hand, I wasn't really trying to really craft it as a business. You know, that has its problem. But, you know, like the kids, mainly their parents are my customer, and the kids are, you know, sometimes they're interested, sometimes they are not. You know, they're more fluctuate. So, you know, at the point where I almost want to drop it, you know, not interested in doing it anymore. But then it's sort of you know, got myself into this sort of position, right? You know, if I actually going out, you know, do what I want to do to recruit the people I want to tutor, I want to teach, and that will be more beneficial. So yeah, just as I said, you know, it's not much of a business to speak of, but I'm trying to relate to what you said.
Yeah, but it sounds like people are finding you, and maybe that is building because they are also referring people to you.
Yeah, that did happen. Yeah.
So Curtis, I want to get in here a little bit because
Yes.
you know, the Creative Coast ultimately obviously needs members. And so I did something really unusual in March, right? I took down the paywall, right? I've sort of started adding it back, but we're not there yet, right? Like normally, if you were not a Creative Coast member and you came to this event in my space, I would charge you $10 a head, right? But I'm not charging anybody anything right now for that kind of activity. So it's been interesting because my first inclination when all this went down in March was, we're okay financially at the moment, and we need to serve our audience. and add a lot of value. And so we immediately went online. I called Kate. I'm like, we're going online, Kate. Let's go. Right. And Kate and I moved everything online like that and started planning 2 to 3 events a week online when we were doing 1 event a week prior to that in person.
Mhm.
And we dropped the paywall, and we dropped like you couldn't even sign up if you wanted to. I mean, Curtis, you asked me a couple of times, can I join? And I'm like, no, you can't. Sorry, we're not open.
Right.
Right. And we just added that back Labor Day, right? We've seen, 3 or 4 people have joined, and we have some people starting to come back into the space. But I'm also struggling a little bit with, when do I add back the other revenue streams? Like, when do I, or what is right in this world today to try and charge for? We successfully ran She Hustles last month and charged $10 to $20 a head for it, which is what we would have done in person. And we had something like 57 people that paid for that event. And we were able to take that money and actually buy gift cards with it and give 11 women-owned businesses business by us paying for those gift cards and then raffle them off to the members, right? So again, I'm really, really thinking strategically on, okay, first and foremost, I want to add value. I just want to give, add value. But now, as we start to come to the other side of this, or know that we're going to be in this for another 6 to 12 months, I've got to figure out a path back to revenue. And I'm kind of struggling with it. It's, it's been interesting.
Well, and for a lot of companies that took a little dip, it's adding back that critical mass of people who are interested and are getting the benefit, and the revenue follows the benefit in everything.
I mean, that's why we dropped everything and just said, let's add value, right?
Yeah.
The more value we add, eventually when we start asking for money again, people are going to be like, well, they did really good for things for us, right? So,
Right.
So I'm hopeful that we're moving forward to some, and playing around with some new ideas like affiliate fees, I think I'm going to start a library collection and, with Amazon books and, use all Smile links. So if anybody downloads or buys any of the books that we recommend, we get a little bit of a fee for that, and looking at diversifying the revenue streams that way, but, people still really aren't coming into the space. I mean, you're in the space today, so you're probably there alone. So,
There's one other person here.
It's not our space yet, right? So we're not there yet. So I've got to make sure I'm adding value through the other things that we're doing.
Right. Well, and often, and I'm old enough that I've been through a recession before, which we're, obviously these downturns, it causes people to innovate. It causes businesses to innovate, look at new ideas. And the ones that are in business on the other side as it begins to build are always stronger. They're always more valuable. They're always, they always have more market share. And hopefully all of you are in that position where you realize that whatever we're changing, the fact that we're looking at new strategies at this point in time is just going to mean that when everything comes back, we're in a much better position. Let me tell you quickly about a LinkedIn just win that I've had recently. So I mentioned earlier about the 13 nursing homes we have in Texas. That's our biggest account to date. It generates $20,000 a week in revenue, so it was very important to us. And it's not an easy account at all, as you, even from the beginning, as I said, it was one of those. We're on a constant learning curve. But for a business that started June 5th this year, obviously that's an important piece of our revenue. So we found early on, we knew that we wanted to target that part of the industry because they get regular testing. Someone in a nursing home, depending on where they're located, gets tested anywhere from 1 to 3 times a week. So significant revenue. So it was one of our targets, and we started looking, and then we started looking at what do we need to offer them. And we found that our niche so far has been offering convenience. concierge nursing, where we will go to the location. We do it privately. So we found in our research that those were key things. People wanted to be tested privately. They didn't necessarily want to be contact traced everywhere on the planet. If they were positive, they wanted to handle it responsibly, but not have their businesses shut down immediately and those kind of things. But with the nursing homes, as we started looking, there was a particular test that we wanted to offer them. We didn't know where to get it. We started looking at the labs, and I went to LinkedIn and actually looked for the CEOs of some specific labs. I wanted to go in at that level. Didn't know how to get there, was getting kind of frustrated, and I ran across this one lab, and always on LinkedIn it shows who you might be, who you might know in a connection, right? Turns out that a friend of mine from 20 years ago that used to be in Savannah knew the CEO. I made a phone call. He sent an email, made a phone call. Jen, you've been great about doing warm introductions with emails. It's magic, guys. And within 2 weeks, we had the product that we needed. We had done our discovery with the nursing home, so we knew exactly what they needed. We knew we had it. We knew it was unique in terms of being able to bring it to them, and at the level of we're bringing in nurses for your benefit to take care of this, and then we're gone. It worked, and it worked like magic. But it all happened because of a referral on LinkedIn, because of that cyber stalking, and because I was alert to the fact that, hey, there may be someone connected here. Has anyone else had that kind of experience, or anything you want to talk about there? What other groups or organizations are you guys using to find business? And I know in hospitality, there are all kinds of associations and groups, and probably groups like us, Jen, and Creative Coast, that are retooling their strategy to survive in some ways, and retooling their strategy to provide new benefits during this time. But Leandria, do you see anything else out there that, could you talk a little bit about some of the groups that you're involved with and how you work through those?
The biggest group that I use is the Chamber, just because they have such a diverse membership. And so we have connected with, like, we've always been a member of the Savannah Chamber, but we've tried to connect with the other chambers and just make sure that the head of the chamber knows what we do, and so that they can help us identify companies that could make sense for us. Same thing with our educational programming. It's like our next program is about internationalizing your website. It's like, okay, these are the people we always send it to, but who else makes sense? And even if they just come to that program, they've been introduced to World Trade Center Savannah, and maybe it makes sense for us to have a longer conversation afterwards.
Good. Who else wants to talk about it? Hey, Chris, you've been very quiet over there. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
So I'm currently the general manager of a e-commerce solution, Commerce V3. Our salesperson is actually out for this whole pandemic, so we're trying to figure out how to build up our sales again. We typically go to trade shows all over the United States, and obviously that has come to a screeching halt. Virtual conferences aren't as great, so we're struggling to figure out how to get out in front of people other than just cold calling our lists. At least with the trade show organizations that we're a part of, we do still get their list, so we can call through those lists, but it's been challenging to get those people on the demos.
Sure. With your current customers, have you used referrals through them, through that network?
It might be time to try that again. We've always typically done that, but it wasn't very successful early on. But now that the world is totally different, the game has totally changed, it might be, we even took it down off of our main literature and everything because nobody was taking advantage of it. But it may be time to revisit that and try to use our existing client list as referrals. Yeah, That might be a great idea.
A lot of people that I know are also rewarding those people that give referrals with some kind of a loyalty gift, or they're generating the interest in the referrals with some kind of a loyalty gift. You know, we're back to, again, some of the basics. And I see Trevinia and smiling there. It is, you know, having something that sits on a desk. It's not very trendy or innovative, but wow, does that coffee cup speak to them every morning with your logo on it? And some of those things are becoming more important. Trevinia, go ahead.
So it's so interesting. I actually have a controversial opinion about that. I think that sending people things with your logo doesn't do as good as sending people things with their logo on it.
Ooh.
So strategic gifting is something that we have used. We use a company called Giftology to do ours for us, but it's been massively important. Not necessarily that it's translating into a lot of business, but it translates into a lot of buzz. So people posting on social media, like holding up the gift that we sent them with their logo on it, because people don't care so much about our name, they care about their own name, right? So personalizing it has been important. Another thing that we've been just recently doing, I used a company called U Printing just because it was super cheap, to be honest, to print out a bunch of note cards. I did like 4x6 note cards, and I'm literally just sending thank you notes to all of our existing clients, handwritten thank you notes, and saying, we want to work with more clients like you because you're so amazing. It's pretty much the same message to every client, but that's generated in a few, not a ton, but in a few like emails or Facebook introductions, those warm leads to people. So, you know, for the cost of a stamp and a decent note card, getting kind of out in, again, because we want something different that's not a Zoom call, right? So a physical mail is healthy. Lumpy mail is always really interesting. So yeah.
And they will open it.
Yeah, exactly. One other thing that I wanted to add, I swear I hate coming to these things. I feel like I just talk a lot, but you had asked about groups and stuff, and I'd be totally interested in the other kind of local things that people are doing, but more nationwide. I joined Young Entrepreneur Council. So young, I'm not young, but they let me in anyway. So that has been good for building community. Also EO is another organization that has been helpful as far as building community and starting to get our message out. So those are the only two that I'm a part of right now.
Well, and I think everyone probably knows an industry group that's would serve your best prospects. Years ago, I had an internet company, internet development, and we created websites for publishers. And that was really specific. We knew exactly, you know, how to take care of the publisher and move their content online. It was a big deal back then, guys. It's not, you know, now it's normal, but we found that working through a national association gave us instant credibility. And then that also created warm leads. And today, you know, with so much information being disseminated from these organizations, again, as a way to serve their, you know, their base during this time, if they're not going to a meeting, they're still getting information from the national organizations. So if there's one that's specifically targeted to your customers or to a specific class of customers that you want to reach, I would say that is one of the most valuable calls you can make. I still have customers today, and this has been 15 years ago since we sold that company, but I still have customers today that will call me because I was the provider for the National Association of Independent Real Estate Publishers. Think how targeted that is. But it's all those little real estate magazines in every market, and they're still out there. They've moved most of it to digital, but they're still out there. But these fiercely independent guys who didn't have a big organization to do all the research for them and create their websites, we were able to go in and in one meeting with their national association, suddenly we're the guy. And again, I still have business from that today. So I would definitely recommend, especially in this time, find some major organization that needs your service, that has a good user base. Give them content to send to their user base. Give them things that are valuable that they can provide their user base, and make sure your name is attached to it at some point. What other things, guys? I'm glad Commerce V3 is on here because one of the things I wanted to mention is find a way to provide your service through an e-commerce platform. And that's different for a lot of us. Chris, do you have people who are approaching you now that maybe didn't in the past? Or someone that's maybe they're a startup and they've added e-commerce because they've changed their brick and mortar strategy?
Unfortunately, we're not, which we're shifting that to. We were historically more of an enterprise level, so we weren't ideal for startups. But we've taken this time to readjust that too. So we do actually have a lower package to start off, but we don't have that pricing out for the masses yet. So I'm hoping that we will get some of that traffic once we do that. But I think to shop us right now, they're not quite going to bite that price tag to just get started. But,
Sure.
We were very nervous at the beginning of this pandemic, as everybody was. We had no idea where this was going to go. And our customers, except for the people that are unfortunately in office furniture, everybody else has just had tremendous spikes in sales. Now, that doesn't make up for their brick and mortar deficit, but it definitely is bringing new people to the online world. That's for sure.
How many of them are going to abandon their brick and mortar and become exclusively e-commerce?
Right.
True.
Yep.
We know that people are shopping online now more than ever. What was that?
So it's too soon to sell, right? Because of all the federal stimulus, we're not going to actually know who's going to make it or not until probably Q2 next year.
Mm-hmm. You're right. You're exactly right. And that's going to change a lot of things. It's one of the, everybody's talking about, post-COVID, what happens? That's one of the things we're going to see happen. And the online space is in terms of e-commerce is going to be very important. But because so many people are shopping online right now, having a way to position, to be visible there in an e-commerce environment, if your business lends itself to that, is very important. And so I've seen several people even retool a product just so they've got a space online, something to sell, and it leads back to their company or service in some way. I'm going to bring up my screen again for a moment because I have a list of several of the resources that I think, and we've talked about a lot of them. But give me a second, guys, to reopen this. And it's always fun jumping back and forth from screens. There we go. I want to talk just a second about, can everybody see this? Talk just a second about helping customers find you. And so we've talked about several of these today. I see we have not talked about TikTok or Instagram yet, but we'll talk about that in a moment. Video is critically important now. And so part of selling today is actually attracting. We've talked about content online for a long time, and everybody has probably posted something online, but I think it's more important than ever that you participate online, that you're in LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, we could go on. Get comfortable with video. Get comfortable with being in front of the camera. Don't feel like it has to be perfect. I think that was the biggest barrier for me when I first started just even being on a video call or a meeting, even any kind of online video. Was just very nervous for me. And then I realized, hey, it's that way for everybody. It's not a big deal. Don't forget about traditional advertising. We were just talking about ad specialties a second ago. Who thought that would be innovative? Yes.
We can't see your screen.
Oh, you can't see it? Oh, I apologize. Let's see what happened there. Thank you. It wasn't apparent on my side. Okay, part of the fun of having a Zoom meeting, right? Let's see if I can get it back. There we go. Now we're there. Let me back up one. So, and we've talked about several of these, as I said, but
We can see now. Awesome.
you can see it now? Good. All right. So traditional advertising, real important. I know so many people, and I watched this happen. I did quite a bit of automotive business in the last 3 or 4 years. And I watched one of the companies decide, hey, everything's digital now. We're going to abandon all, we're going to forget about that big ad we had on television running all the time. We're going to forget about all that radio and just put it all on digital. It didn't work for them. And what they found out is that there are a lot of people that are not as engaged in digital as we may think. There's still a lot of people that go home and watch television at night. I'm not one of them, but there are a lot of people that do. There's still a lot of people that listen to radio in their cars. And so, especially when we're in the tech world and we get all involved in the digital media and we get excited about it and it's new and we know it works and we know it's inexpensive, but if you're abandoning the traditional media, you're missing that opportunity for a whole group of customers that probably are going to respond there more so than anywhere else. PR today is really changing because of what we can do with digital media, but I'm working with a public relations company now that's going to cause us to use more of everything you see on this page. The objective there is to let other people tell your story. And that's so important now where, everybody's the best and everybody's, got something shiny for you to see. People are ready to have someone else tell them, hey, this is good, I tried it. Hey, these guys did something great, I want you to know who they are. It's another form of having those referrals, just on a larger scale. Professional organizations we mentioned, and just be active in those and be visible. And when they come roaring back and everybody can meet again, everybody will know who you are. Last thing I want to talk about is customer relationship management. And it's a more accurate way, to really handle your prospects. And so it's really prospect management. So if you have, we talked earlier about Salesforce. Has anyone else used Salesforce?
Not really a fan, but yes, I use it.
You've used it? Okay. And so I use Pipedrive. I've used Salesforce. We'll talk about these in a second. Let me switch back and we'll stop the share there. I want, if Randy's still with us. Are you out there, Randy? Yeah. If you elaborate a little bit more about Salesforce and in the context of, and I think Salesforce is great, but what's great about it is it probably does everything that all the other ones do. Right. So I feel like if you're describing Salesforce, whichever platform they want to get on, they'll be comfortable how it works.
Yeah, I've used other ones in the past, but Salesforce, I would say it's a little cumbersome. There's a lot to it. Mm-hmm. But, it's a great tool for us to, we put our notes in there, we put our sales forecasts, we put in end of term, especially for us, looking for upgrades and that type of things. So those come up automatically on reports. You got reports for, your sales teams, forecasting and things. So, for us, it works pretty good.
Good. Well, Andrea, what are you using in hospitality? Is there a specific program there?
So we are not hospitality.
That's probably not. Yeah, I apologize.
No. Oh, okay. So World Trade Center Savannah is different than the Savannah Convention Center.
All right.
Yeah, no, I know exactly where you're going. Yes, it happens all the time. Yeah. It happens all the time. I totally get it. But so we're economic development. We do use Salesforce, and it's just what CETA uses, and so that's what we use. It's not my favorite thing, but it is what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Is anyone else using a management program for prospects and sales?
So I've got HubSpot set up for Creative Coast.
Good. Why did you use that one?
Free. Number one, it's free. And they have some amazing educational tools and stuff like that. So they keep emailing me like, here's 17 email templates that you can kind of, they've pre-written them and now I can kind of copy them and make them myself. Or they just did a marketing thing where they gave me all this downloadable stuff, like here's a template for an ebook and here's a template for a postcard. And so I can kind of go in and play with those. So we have assets that we can use from them through their educational programs. The other thing I would say is I'm a little into automation, right? So I have Zapier.com set up to take, so like when somebody registers for membership in the Creative Coast, they pay us through Stripe, right? That's the back end Cobot and Stripe payment. The Stripe, when somebody pays us, it updates their record in the CRM. So I can know who's current and who's not in the CRM, but all that happens automatically with the two systems syncing. And I can download Zoom people into that CRM magically, I like to say. And so that, while we're using different systems, like the people that registered for this go into Zoom and are stored by Zoom, like how do I get them over to the CRM as well, right? And we've got a membership solution. How do I get that to the CRM as well? Because the CRM is going to track both members and sponsors, which could be, that's the bigger revenue opportunity in the future is sponsors, not members, right? So not using it as much as we could today, but do have it set up such that basically that data is being preloaded into the CRM. So when I do log in, I can say, oh, look, this person went to these 3 events, right? And that sort of activity. Automatically.
That's good. And so I think that's a great example of some of the extensions of traditional customer management systems. Now you're using it for a lot more than just a traditional sales use. It's everything. The one that I use is Pipedrive, similar system. I tend to be a little ADD. You guys probably noticed that on this conversation. There were a few shiny objects out here. I use Pipedrive to keep me on track. And it gives me recurring contact scenarios where if I've taken a customer to a certain stage in the process, it'll make suggestions for the next stage. It'll date the next stage. It'll alert me if I'm running out of time to complete that stage. And so I've found that that's a great way to pace the sales process and to shorten the sales process. And that's the last thing I want to talk about. So we're at a point of wrapping up. I think one advantage that we may find with all these new tools and with some of those Zoom meetings and everything else, there may be an opportunity to shorten the sales cycle. We're not taking time to travel as much. We're not taking time, even during the day. If I know people in the past that might try to call. I bet some of Randy's copier salespeople may have been cold calling offices at some point. I've certainly been in situations with radio years ago where we would cold call businesses. Those things aren't happening anymore. But what is happening is a lot of contact in an automated way and in the way that we've talked about today. And I think the long-term benefit may be an efficiency that we've never imagined before. And so I hope you've got something out of this meeting today. And I hope that as we move forward in this, that we all learn, we can all share. Jen, you have my contact information. I probably should have shared that on here as well. But if there's anything I can help any of you guys with, it's all about learning together and finding the way that we can all make money and move forward through this.